Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, your home for all Golden Grizzlies basketball. My name is Giovanni Moceri. I am your host of the GioMoShow, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to help support everything we do on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube as well. Follow the Instagram at the GioMO Show. Follow me on Twitter at GioMoSherry, WXOU, and use the hashtag the GioMoShow to stay connected with everything. Oakland is coming off yet another loss. This one a little more disappointing than the other one so far this season. 97-91 in regulation against the Eastern Michigan Eagles in Ypsilanti. It puts the Golden Grizzlies now at 1-5. And helping me break down the game, it's not just going to be me this time. We have the Oakland men's basketball beat writer for the Horizon Roundtable. You guys have seen him plenty of times on this show already. Griffin Beers is back to talk to us all about how this game turned out the way it did. When are we going to see the next Oakland win? And Michael Houge's debut, among other things, are what we cover in my conversation with the beat writer himself. All of his information will be in the description below, so you can follow his work. He does great stuff, not only for the Horizon Roundtable, but elsewhere as well. So we'll kick things off with my conversation with Griffin Beers. And joining me once again here on the GioMoShow is the Oakland beat writer for the Horizon Roundtable. Griffin Beers is back on the show. Griff, welcome back.
It's good to be back. Been a little bit, so I'm glad to be back.
It has, and you were one of the very few over at Eastern Michigan last night as of this recording for their game, for Oakland's game against the Eastern Michigan Eagles, a 97-91 loss. Now they're second in a row to Eastern. Just kind of overview of the game, your view from it. You know, what happened, what led to Eastern shooting so well, and kind of how did the game turn out the way it did?
Yeah, I would say from a if you were a neutral fan or just a fan of basketball, it was a very entertaining game to watch. A lot of points scored, a lot of nice offensive moves, a lot of good three-point shooting. But for Oakland, it was just kind of like they just couldn't get over the hump. They took a lead in the middle of the first half, and then kind of towards the end of the half lost that lead. And then the rest of the game, it just felt like whenever they needed to get a stop, they just couldn't come up with a stop to kind of go on a sustained run, to kind of retake the lead and get a win. So, yeah, I would say it was a disappointing result, especially coming off of all of the positives that we saw in those bye games that we played, especially the last one against UCF. So I think it was disappointing for the team to kind of get their first crack at a mid-major and an in-state mid-major that beat Oakland last year, and not be able to get the job done. So.
Yeah, and in last game against UCF, the biggest part of it was a 15-0 run that Oakland was able to dig themselves out of in the second half. It's crazy to expect it, again in the next game, anything close to that, but they really just couldn't get any run going. They could match the points that were being scored, but it's just They were coming from the other side too. EMU was just scoring whenever they wanted.
Yeah, and it was tough. It was tough to kind of watch defensively, because it just felt like whatever Eastern Michigan was drawing up and trying to get, they were getting exactly what they were trying to get. And I would say in the first half, a lot of it was, Eastern Michigan shot very well. I think at one point they were 8 of 13 from 3, which is, a great percentage. But in the second half, they did kind of cool down, and a lot of their scoring was at the rim. A lot of their scoring was dribble penetration. And I know those are things that, that defense is trying to stop, and it just for whatever reason it just wasn't happening.
And I'm trying to reflect this and kind of project this performance onto other games. This is kind of like because we're still learning the team a little bit, especially with Michael Houge being added into the lineup, finally back from injury. We'll get to him in a little bit, but as far as this game's concerned, I mean, obviously EMU's big, their 7-footer was 24, 11, and 9, almost a triple-double. Is that something similar? Do we have a player like that in Horizon League that could give us similar work like that, or is this kind of something we can say, okay, we're not going to see that in conference play. Don't worry about a 7-footer like that.
Well, I think the difference between Eastern Michigan and some of the other non-conference teams that Oakland has played with Purdue and Houston and stuff like that it's just like those bigger teams have 3 or 4 of those guys, right? But I think absolutely a mid-major team is going to have a dominant big, especially in the Horizon League. I think a good comparison for what we saw last night. That performance reminded me a lot of what we saw last year at Robert Morris with a guy like Alvaro Folgaris. And so I think those guys definitely exist in the Horizon League. So that's definitely something that Oakland will have to shore up.
And now I want to actually get into Michael Houge being added into the lineup, playing, enough to break a sweat is what was predicted going into it. And he ended up playing 20 minutes, scoring 17 points, shot 7 of 9 from the floor. So just in his debut as a Golden Grizzly, what'd you think of Michael Houge?
Yeah, he's a problem, and he's going to be a problem for the rest of the season. I know, there was a time throughout the summer and into the fall where a lot of people thought that a lot of people around Oakland thought that, hey, maybe this guy is like our best player. So adding him back into the fold is really nice to have, and it gives Oakland some serious offensive firepower from a ton of different places. You could score inside, you could score outside, you could score on the wing. You have multiple different bigs that you could post up and go get a bucket. So adding him back, this team is not complete without him. And as he gets healthier, I think that everyone will start to see how good of a rebounder he is too. And the big rebounding numbers that he could put up. So it's obviously huge to have a guy like that back.
And what about Brody Robinson? Because throughout this season, I've personally been extremely impressed with his quickness, his control of the ball, and I always feel confident when he has the ball in his hands. Is he kind of morphing into another one of those campy point guards that Campy is kind of known for? Where is he kind of fitting into Oakland's system as its point guard?
I think definitely he is, and I think he's already shown the ability to take over the game in multiple different ways. Especially yesterday, there was a time early in the second half where Oakland didn't have kind of much going on, and he kind of, he got a different look in his game. And he was getting to the rim, and it was not just scoring with him, too. He knows how to get other people open. He knows how to run offense to make sure that the offense gets a good shot. And obviously something that's been missing from the point guard position the last couple of years is someone that can make a shot from deep. And he's obviously a proven shooter, and so far earlier in the year, too, he's making his threes. And that'll be a huge key for him and the team going forward. And I think you have to like what you see from him.
Yeah, we're liking it so far. 4 of 6 from deep from him in this performance. Very similar to what we've been seeing from him throughout the season. And the last player I want to kind of highlight is Baru, because I'm just trying to wrap my head around whether my expectations in the preseason were inaccurate to what his role really is on the team. Originally, I was expecting him to be like the number one option on the offense, averaging 17 points, 9 rebounds, a very dominant big in there, but it kind of seems to have more of a facilitator role in addition to that. So just help me kind of wrap my head around what Baru's true role is on this team, and is it kind of what we expected in the preseason?
I think he's definitely talented enough to have that role. The problem is that Oakland has other guys that are also talented enough to have that role. I think Baru is definitely more suited to kind of go venture out into the perimeter, maybe handle the ball a little bit, especially the dribble drive offense. I think he's more built, especially if it's between him and Isaac. He's more built to have the ball in the perimeter, kind of drive a big into the post, and then either find somebody or go get his own shot. And then I think production-wise, those early schools that Oakland has played, they don't know anything about the new guys that are coming in, but they do know that Baru can hurt them, and they know that he's the preseason player of the year in the Horizon League, so their attention's all going to be on him. And I think last night you saw a little bit of it, especially early on, that Oakland was trying to make him kind of a focal point to score. But he will definitely have games this season where he is racking up a lot of points and having those higher totals.
Kind of overall for this game, my expectation going into it was, and the previous episode of this show, I mentioned to where I was expecting this one to be like where you actually prove it, where you're tough, you're 4. I'm just gonna discount the Defiance game with all due respect, but your first 4 games were against extremely tough opponents. But now against Eastern, you're really down to your own level. There's not a huge travel thing, and it's really like mano-a-mano kind of a matchup. Time to prove that those tough matchups have built you into a team that can win games, and we still weren't able to get it done. When can we expect to start to see it in the win column for Oakland instead of just being happy that they're learning?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why it was so disappointing last night, is because you felt like the team had some really good momentum building, and they obviously weren't going to be intimidated going into a place like Eastern Michigan and looking across and seeing guys that are similar athleticism and similar height as them, and I think that's why it was so disappointing why they couldn't get over the hump last night. I think wins will start to come soon. Now, I will say this is a tough road trip that they're about to go on. There's 2 really good teams that they're going to play. Lamar is a talented team, and then Montana was in the NCAA tournament last year. They're picked to be back in the NCAA tournament this year, and they're going to have a really good home crowd behind them. So I think you would like Oakland to definitely pull out at least 1 win this week, to kind of show that, hey, we are able to start winning games. But don't be surprised if it's a struggle to get that done.
Yeah, hopefully we're not coming back with a 1-7 record from this Feast Week matchup. It's the Blaine Taylor Classic in Missoula, Montana. It'll be the first time Campy's ever been to the state of Montana, so that'll be interesting as well.
I don't think he's alone. I don't think he's alone in the travel party in saying that.
Well, Griffin Beers, thank you so much for joining us here on the GioMo Show. Always great to get your insight, especially when you're actually at the game. It helps those like us who have to watch it on TV afterwards. So thank you so much for joining the show once again. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.